Okay. Hey everyone, we're Team 7, and we're going to be explaining the rise of independent and unsigned artists, mainly on Spotify.
So within the hip hop and rap genres, there have been a number of key breakaway independent artists that have emerged in recent years. Of course, number one being Russ. Then, within these past few years, La Russell and Marlon Craft have also popped up in the scene as prominent independent artists in the rap and hip hop genre. So although their numbers are increasing, independent artists definitely do face challenges within audience engagement. Over the past 5 years, there has been a significant change in the Spotify market share. So major labels, the big three and non-Merlin, the big three and Merlin, have actually lost 12% of Spotify market share over the past 5 years. But despite the introduction of new technologies and democratized platforms such as TikTok and BandLab, of course, unsigned artists definitely do face a lot of struggles when it comes to monetary aid, marketing resources, and of course, institutional connections labels can provide.
So in the effort to compare signed and unsigned rising artists across the genres, we use chart metric scores, the average scores to reflect what the weighted average are within these specific categories. And we realized that there are minimal differences for rock, but then there's the large gap that exists within pop, which suggests that there's a high barrier of entry to pop genres. And also the average score of hip hop seems to be the highest, which means that it really shows that the current music trends are just the popularity of the hip hop genre. And unsigned rock artists, surprisingly, are almost as good as the signed ones.
Awesome. So now we're going to take a deep dive into French Montana because he's a prime example of an artist who's leveraged the resources that many labels have had to offer, such as Interscope, Bad Boy, and Epic. And this is where he was able to release his pop hits, such as Unforgettable. But as of last year, he actually pivoted into becoming independent. And so we're going to take a look at how this change in ownership has affected some of his stats.
Yeah. So as we deep dived into French Montana's career as both a signed versus unsigned artist, we specifically evaluated the trajectory of his chart metric score, which serves as sort of a nice summary metric for his streaming performance and reach, as well as audience engagement. So here we performed a 6-month post-album release analysis of his chart metric scores. And when we compare the 6-month period after he released They Got Amnesia as a signed artist through Bad Boy and Epic Records versus when he released Montega, his first independent album since going mainstream, we saw definitely a larger drop in his chart metric score in the following 6 months after he released each album. And so despite the fact that, at this stage in his career, French Montana is certainly a well-established and mainstream artist with a breadth of resources and diverse network of personal connections, the fact that we saw a roughly 38% drop in his chart metric score after releasing Montega as an independent versus only a 4% drop after releasing They Got Amnesia as a signed artist may directionally suggest that being assigned to a label may open up access to certain resources and other institutional doors, which enables these signed artists to better engage and connect with their audiences. Hence, this may suggest that being signed to a label may enable artists to better stay engaged with their fans. And then similarly, when we performed a similar set of analysis for French Montana Spotify KPIs, specifically playlist count and playlist reach, we see that in the 6-month period after we released Montega as an independent, after French Montana's playlist count rose by about 4% or so, his playlist reach declined by roughly 15%, versus when he released his albums Montana and They Got Amnesia through Epic and Bad Boys, his playlist count actually rose by an average of 15%, and his playlist reach only declined by an average of 8%. Hence, directionally, once again, this suggests that being signed to a label perhaps offers artists a better breadth of resources across, say, PR, marketing, sales, distribution, that may enable these signed artists to better stay connected and engage with the fans, resources that perhaps independent artists may not be able to access or replicate, inhibiting them from reaching and perhaps engaging with their key audiences.
I'm so sorry, David. I have to stop you right there. That's your time. Judges, let's move on to questions if you don't mind. Any questions?
Yeah, I can ask one. In this case study, you were pretty proving a point that you have more streams because you have the support of the record labels. Did you do a qualitative analysis also of the release Montega? Because maybe from an E&R point of view, the album was maybe less perceived as a good quality album by the audience. So my question is, did you look at the sentiment analysis and especially the tool you have on Chartmetric on that?
Yeah, I guess I can take a stab at answering that. So unfortunately, due to time constraints and limitations, we didn't have the opportunity to do like a deep dive qualitative analysis around sort of the rollout and reception of Montega, but I think that's certainly an interesting item for future research, essentially investigating the qualitative aspects of releases and perhaps normalizing the data analysis to compensate for that.
Thank you.